Hello and welcome to the Rose Rehash. That's right. Every Monday night after the Bachelorette, it's me, Jared Freid. We're going to recap the show. We're going to go over. We got some feedback. We're going to go over the show. We're going to give out awards, and we're going to take your questions. If you want your questions answered, tag me at Jared Freid in the comments so that we can answer them at the end of the show. That's right, at Jared Freid in the comments, and we'll answer your questions at the end. I thought this was one of the most interesting episodes that I've ever seen of The Bachelorette. There's a lot of things to kind of sink your teeth into. From the perspective of doing the live stream and making fun of it, I thought there was less to make fun of. There's more that like, wow, this is kind of interesting. So we start the episode. Oh, also, I'm going on tour. I am doing shows. I am going to be in Orlando, Florida in 2 weeks. So come on out, get the group chat going. Richmond, Virginia, Mohegan Sun. I got to be I'm all over, jaredfreid.com, jaredfreid.com, to make sure you go and get those tickets, get people together. I talk about The Bachelor on stage. So there's Bachelor jokes to be said there. So listen, we start today's episode where the big topic of conversation is that there are 7 men left. 2 have never been on one-on-one dates, Mike the Virgin and Brendan the Poof. So Brendan the Poof, Mike the Virgin, they both have never been on one-on-one dates. And yeah, we know. We have not even gotten to know these guys. We basically only know that Brendan is Canadian with a hair that he puts curlers in and he's friends with Blake. And then we know that Mike is a virgin. That's really all we know. So that's the big guy. So when they come over with the one-on-one, it's a big moment because you're going to have 2 one-on-ones and 1 group date. So the expectation, since these men are here, is that each of them would get a one-on-one, and then the group date would be all the other men who have already been on one-on-ones. That's not what happened. Sensitive Greg gets the one-on-one date. So now the second one-on-one is kind of between Virgin Mike and Brendan. So that's kind of like the what will happen then. Sensitive Greg goes on the date. I have said it here before. I don't buy the game that Sensitive Greg is playing. It feels like he goes too emotional to try and convince her, and then he's going to do with that information something later on. It feels like he wants to get her in to like him before he decides if he likes her. They go on this date. They're dressed alike. They look like they're partners on Legends of the Hidden Temple, like they're going to visit Olmec, and they go on this date that is a Pike Place date. The Pike Place date is fine. I think if I was from Seattle, I've been to Seattle a lot. To me, Pike Place is their Times Square. That's not the most Seattle place in the world. To me, it was a lazy date. It was 2 people that were having a good time. Katie seems to be, falling for Greg and falling for it. I can give you an example. At the end of the Pike Place date, so basically they go on this date, they throw the fish to each other. Greg barely catches the fish. They put the gum on the wall like the gum wall in Seattle. They go and sit in the gazebo. They make out. She says to him, so, are you ready for me to meet your mom? And Greg just like, well, yeah, of course. And it's like, is that the excitement you want before hometowns? I don't know. It feels like he goes in strong, pulls back, goes in strong, pulls back. They go to the dinner time and the nighttime part of the date. Greg isn't even dressed up for the date. They sit there and she goes, and he starts talking about how, he's reserved because he was bullied growing up. And it's like, what? That makes you reserved? You're in the top of this competition. At what point have you been reserved? Why? I don't understand. And at a certain point, it feels like Katie is trying to convince him to stay. At one point, Katie even says to him, I'm afraid you're going to leave. Can you imagine? You're the star of this show. You're the Bachelorette. And you're going, are you going to leave? Like, what's going on here? What is he doing on these group dates that shows Katie that he maybe doesn't want to be here? They get out to the end of the date, and she's like, what's a Seattle date without rain? And they have water. They basically produce a rain scene. Greg reacts to this rain like he has never seen rain before. He's like, what? It's like, Greg, you saw the hoses set up. You saw the producers with water. Like, huh? Like, it's like, is this your big acting moment? And it's just like, are you cast on holes too? Like, what is this big moment you're having? It's okay to go, oh, this is fun, jump in the rain, let's make out in the rain. But like, huh? It's like you've seen rain. So we have this bullshit date with sensitive Greg. We come back to the house, and now they're going to read the group date. This is a big moment because whoever's name is not on the group date gets the second one-on-one. So they read the list of names for the group date, and it's down to Virgin Mike and Brendan on like who's going to get time with her because they've never had time with her. And it's like, can you imagine introducing someone to your parents and then you're like, yeah, our first date was a day ago. And you're like, what's going on here? So they read the group date, and Virgin Mike is going to get the one-on-one. Brendan is going to be on the group date. So Brendan then, I actually think it's commendable. Brendan goes to Katie's room and is like, hey, what's going on here? Like, I got to get to know you. If I'm going to introduce you to my parents, this goes both ways. Katie's like, yeah, you should go. And then Brendan goes and says goodbye to Blake, and it's all understandable to me. To me, it didn't feel like Brendan was trying to, like, win her as much as he was like, what's going to happen here? How is there any way where I'm staying? And I actually commend Brendan for that. So then we go on the group date. The group date is truly bizarre. The men are led up to this, like, art, setup where all these art pieces are set up on easels, and they all kind of look like vaginas, and which is okay. Like, that's not the newest thing in the world. There has been sexual paintings for legitimately since the beginning of time. Cavemen were drawing vaginas on the cave wall during that era. So this isn't like a surprising thing. But then they bring up this woman, and she's like, I'm the artist, and these are all self-portraits, and like, everyone's like acting weird, and it feels like we didn't get all the information. It feels like ABC saw that this was a vagina portrait date, and they were like, we are a Disney-owned network, not on our watch. And so it made the date actually more awkward because now they didn't set up that this is a vagina portrait lady. So then all the men are doing their own artwork, art pieces that are sexualized. So it just looked like they were like, here's some clay, and then Mike A made a penis, and Blake does an artwork that had to be blacked out, the whole thing. It was so sexual they couldn't even show it. Justin, who's the artist, makes stick figures, and like, Justin, what? I thought you were the artist here. So it's a bizarre date that lost its setup, never got really, the payoff that we would all want from it. They go to the cocktail portion, and this is where it gets interesting. All four men get time with Katie. Okay. So during the time with Katie, Justin brings over another painting that's way better than the one he did before. At that point, I'd be like, Justin, let me see you do something in person, because I wouldn't even buy it at that point. Blake and her basically have a fine conversation where Blake is just convincing her that he's not lying to her. It was very Blake. Mike A and Katie talk about how is she ready to be kind of the stepmother to his son. And at this point, Katie is like, yeah, I'm ready to buy the juice boxes and condiments. And you're like, Katie, juice boxes and condiments? Like, is that what you think a mom does? Like, is that the extent that's what you're ready for? And it's like, you go, Katie, at what point, why are you trying to convince Mike A to stay? It felt so ridiculous that Blake is sitting there being like, I really like you. I'm not in love with you, but I like you. And she's like, yeah, I like you too. And then she's looking at the next guy going, hey, I could be the mother to your child. And it's like, Mike A is really what kind of unearths all the weirdness of this show, because you have to be so ready for that commitment, to meet his in-laws, to meet his parents, to meet, his son. And then you're saying to the other guys like, yeah, I'm down to meet with you. And then you're looking at him being like, I'm ready to buy juice boxes. It's just bizarre. And then we go to Andrew. Andrew's date is Andrew, I knew was going home the minute he looked at her and said, I'm thinking of leaving football, and I want to know what you think. And it's like, dude, that's not going to work. This is a woman looking to get married. You're on a show. No woman wants to hear from a man, what do you think I should do with my future right before getting engaged? Again, he sounded like an influencer who started a podcast and didn't know what to do with it. So what would you guys like to hear on the podcast? No, you're the creator. You're the person in charge. You tell us what the show is. And Andrew, which, listen, it's totally okay to be like, hey, I'm confused. I understand it. I'm done with football. I don't know what the next step is. But to look at a woman and go, I don't know what the next step is. Do you have any ideas? Do you know how to spruce up a resume? Do you know any agents in Hollywood? Like, of course he was going home. So then we get to the end of that date. Mike A gets the rose, and we're going to go back to the house. And did I skip over? Brendan went home. So when they read off the group date, Brendan went to Katie and was, did I talk about this? Benji, you there? So when they read off the group date, I totally skipped over this. I apologize. Brendan went to Katie to be like, what's the deal? And Katie's like, yeah, I don't have a deal, and it's time for you to go home. So Brendan gets sent home. I forgot about it because it's such a non-factor. So Brendan gets sent home. Mike A gets the rose on the group date. We come back to the house, and it's going to be Virgin Mike's one-on-one date. Now, it feels as though Virgin Mike is on this show still because Katie is so sex positive that she wants to show that even a virgin can be cool too. Which, I gotta say, I like Katie, but this is where she really loses me. I understand. You want to show I can accept anybody. It just feels like she kept it because he's a cool virgin, because he was a non-judgmental virgin. And she even kind of says that. She's like, I just underestimated, I always thought, I just meeting a guy like Mike, I never thought I could meet a virgin who would connect with. And it's like, yeah, you could be friends, but you kept him here for what? And it's like, he obviously thinks this is all very important. So then she's like, I have to see if we connect physically. So we're going to have a cuddling date. You don't need a cuddling date to see if you connect physically with someone. Go on a date. Go on an actual, something date that can get you to get to know each other and see if you can make out at the end. The idea that you have to bring a virgin on a cuddle date is really it feels unfair. They bring in, Queen Jean the cuddling woman, who looks like she's been on ayahuasca for 700 years. She's like, hey, everybody, the way we cuddle in my cuddle community. And it's like, okay, get out of here. So they start cuddling. Mike then starts talking about his mom, and you're like, no, dude. It felt like a first grader was taking high school math. You got to get out of here. He's talking about his mom and how she's so nurturing, and Katie's nurturing too. And it's like, it's all a little weird. And Katie ends up sending him home, and she sends him home because he goes, I'd rather get my heart broken than break someone's heart. And at that moment, it kind of felt like Katie was like, why am I fucking with this guy? I got to let him go. Like he is taking this seriously, and I'm just having some fun experiment with a virgin. So Mike gets sent home, and we go to the rose ceremony. And Mike the dad and Greg already have roses. Blake gets the next rose, and then the next rose goes to Justin. Andrew gets sent home. Ding, ding, ding. I nailed it. Yeah, she's not going to get engaged to the guy who's asking her what he should do for the rest of his life. So they have this goodbye moment. He says his goodbye. And then we come back the next day, and Andrew comes back to her apartment. And Andrew basically says, I want to make sure that we leave on good terms with smiles on our faces. That is a totally normal thing to do when you have been dumped. I totally get that. But as the dumper, Katie's responsibility is to keep distance, because it's not like Katie said goodbye to Andrew and was like, maybe I should take him back. He's the only man in my life. No, you have 4 other men that you're dating right now. So don't look at Andrew. Andrew came in 5th place. So not 4th, not 3rd, not 2nd, 5th. It wasn't a decision between nobody and Andrew. It was a decision between 4 other men and Andrew. So you have to own that responsibility. Andrew comes in, says some nice things, and then he gives her a letter and says, I'll be waiting. Katie should look at that letter and go, of course you'll be waiting. Because the dumper has the blessing of knowing that the dump is coming. So they can deal with it. They can get over it. The person getting dumped, they have time. They need to get over it on the back end. So of course he's going to say, I'll be waiting. Katie reads the note and goes and chases him down. You go, Katie, what are you chasing him down for? And she starts saying, well, you can come back. You can do whatever you want. Katie, he's the fifth place guy. He's going to come back. What's going to happen with the second place guy? Can they come back too? Is this season never going to end? You're just going to keep bringing him back in? And then she looks at him on the way out and she goes, thankfully, Andrew's like, no, I got 1,000 women in my DMs, so I'm good. And then Katie looks at him as he's getting in the car and goes, one more kiss? And you go, what are we doing? Can you imagine? I do think this is gendered, because if a man looked at a woman he just dumped and was like, one more kiss before you go, everyone would be like, what are you doing to this person? Why are you keeping them? Why are you doing this to them mentally? And she does this to Andrew. One more kiss for old time's sakes. It's like, what? No, you dumped him. Goodbye. Done kissing. You're friends. Have a handshake. That's our episode. Let's give out some awards. This is the awards section. These are the batches. I give out roses to the people I loved and the divorce papers to the people I hated. I'm going to give out roses first. The first rose goes to Cuddle Queen Jean. Loved Cuddle Queen Jean. She was wacky. She was fun. She's exactly what we would want out of a professional cuddler. She also was the only one who had any clarity on the date. She saw them. She goes, they're kind of awkwardly laughing right now, which isn't a good sign. It's like, yeah, I wish Cuddle Queen Jean would have been like, yeah, end it right now before he has to rub up against you and make a sin against God. The next rose goes to Brendan. Brendan saw the writing on the wall. He saw, I didn't get the one-on-one. There's no way for me to be with her, and there's also no way for me to get screen time. Those are the two reasons to be on the show. Find a woman or find an audience. He got none of that. And he said, when am I going to sit in a house without my phone or TV for the rest of my life? I'm going to go. Brendan, good on you. The last rose goes to Mike the Virgin. The last rose, there we go. Mike the Virgin. I thought he got screwed with a little bit. And he went along the whole way. And then when he got dumped by Katie, he looked at her and goes, you're a fantastic person. He left with class. He left exactly the way he came in. I'm a Mike the Virgin fan. I thought he got kind of screwed with. He got put on every date to make him look like an idiot, and he never looked like an idiot. Let's give out some divorce papers. The first one is going to go to Andrew. Andrew, you got dumped. It's over. The note that says, I'll be waiting, you're not going to be waiting. No, you're going to be waiting in your DMs for the thousands of women that are writing you right now. Okay, the idea that you came in fifth place and that you say to her, hey, I'll still be around is just not right and not true. The next divorce paper goes to ABC. ABC cut, I have to assume ABC cut all of the setup to the group date that let us know that this woman does self-portraits of her vagina. And it's like, why? Why would you cut that out? We're all adults watching the show. I know you're a Disney-owned network, but then it just didn't even make sense, and it made the men look bad. It looked like the men were like, no, well, you give me a piece of clay, I got to make it into a penis. And it's like, what? It made them all look bad. The last divorce paper goes to Katie. Katie, you bring Mike the Virgin on a cuddling date to see if you have a physical connection. Why don't you walk with this guy before you people run? Also, then you have Andrew, who you ended things with, come back to you. It is your responsibility as the dumper to respect the space that you have created. Then you're asking for extra kisses and putting the decision in his hand of whether to come back or not. It's your show. You have run it from day one without hosts. I think you've done a great job. But at that moment, you look like you have lost control of the episode. Let's do some listener questions. Do you think Michael and Greg are leaving? And if not, which one? Because someone must be. I think Michael A has to leave at some point. I think it's getting to the point where it's like, it is such a huge responsibility for Katie to enter into this. And I know that I think for her to sign up to be a mother while going, yeah, I'll buy some juice boxes. Like, I don't know how ready you think you are. Let's do another one. What the heck did Blake even paint on the group date? Yeah, so Blake on the group date supposedly painted something so sexual that they blacked out the whole painting. If Justin is the artist and we could barely make out what he put on the page, is Blake just drawing a huge cock and balls? Like, what is he drawing? That they had to black out the whole thing? I don't know. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what he has the talent to be able to draw. Let's do another one. Do you think there are any strong contenders for Bachelor from the season? Yes, Michael A. I think Michael A. presents the best option as the next Bachelor because he automatically makes the season matter more. He's a widower. He has a son. So you can't have some woman come on Michael's A season and pull like, I'm a queen. They can't do Victoria. They can't make it into a joke because they would look like a piece of garbage if they came on that way, even more so than they do anyways. So I think Michael A. is our best contender. Any more? Was Mike the Virgin comparing Kate to his mom a red flag? I understood why Mike the Virgin did that. That's the only kind of intimate relationship he would know, I guess. I don't know. They claim he's done everything but, which is, I don't know what that even means. But I would say that him bringing up his mom a lot felt like a very normal defense mechanism for the situation he was put into. Do we have any more? Let's do two more. Whose family are you most looking forward to seeing at hometowns? Oh my God. I guess Blake. I want to see where Blake came from. I want to see what, where this guy becomes such a sex machine that he claims to be. Do we have any more? Would you have stayed if you were Andrew? No way. You're fifth place. He's not second place. There's many more men. There's 2 bunk beds left. You've got to go. That's not what he had no choice but to leave. And at that point, Andrew's got enough to worry about. He's got to go fix his resume and put it on monster.com so he can find his career for the rest of his life. That's our episode.